Hello, and welcome to Leilani Drinks the Brown Stuff. And I'm your host, Leilani. And where am I? In my backyard. So guys, I've had a really rough week. And I tried so hard to memorize, I could barely get the research in. So we are here together tonight to get through this because my beast wanted to get it done. And when he wants to get it done, somehow it still gets done. Even if I have to doggy paddle the whole time. So here we are. And speaking of the beast, he ended up getting me this boxed whiskey for my Whiskey of the Month Club. So tonight we are getting into Glenlivet's. Let me say that again, because I might not have said it right. And it's going to come a point through this history lesson of this whiskey that I need to say it right. So tonight we are getting into the Glenlivet Founders Reserve Single Malt Scotch Whiskey American Oak Selection. And it is 80 proof. It is 40% ABV. It is a product of Scotland. And it was established in 1824, which is on the box. So let's go. Can I unbox this now or should I wait until the end?
Do whatever you want. Unbox it now?
What?
Sure.
Okay, well then let's do it. Let's look at this pretty bottle. Ah, we don't get too many boxes around here, so it's always nice to get one. Although we did do one for Crown, so Glenlivet. Ooh, I like the kind of blue. This is one of my favorite colors, so I kind of like it. All right.
Sure it's not grape.
Is it? I'm the grape. There's a little.
I was referring to you. You are the grape.
I am the grape tonight. I'm very delicious with the whiskey. So, where was I? We are now in 1822, and in the remote and very isolated Livet Valley, George Smith, the founder, away from like the custom officers and away from like the soldiers, he ended up perfecting his craft of illicit whiskey making during this time. Now, in August of 1822 as well, King George XV visited Scotland, and upon hearing about this very illicit dram that was running around, he requested some. I'm telling you, rich people get it all. I want to be rich so I could just be telling people, give me some of that moonshine, whiskey, whatever you're making. I'd like to taste it. And they feel obligated to give it to me. But that is not the case. Now, in 1824, George ended up riding out to Elgin to get his license to become the first legal distiller in the parish of Glenlivet. Now, obviously, this does not sit well amongst the other illicit, illegal whiskey-making peeps. So much so that he ended up having to carry like 2 flintlock pistols to make his point clear. And it was through his courage of standing up that the foundation for this whiskey is set upon. Now, in the late 1830s, this distillery was pumping out over 200 gallons of whiskey a week. And they ended up having to get Andrew Ushers and Sons of Edinburgh to come on in and become sales reps. All right, it is noted that in 1852, Charles Dickens wrote his friend and basically urged him to seek out and definitely try the rare old Glenlivet. In 1871, George passes, and his son, John Gordon Smith, ends up stopping his training of law and picking up the reins for his dad. In 1884, it was a very significant year for Glenlivet because they had been having bitter battles and fights because people knew that name and they were trying to steal that name and take that name and just use that name, obviously, for their own whiskey so they can sell. So what John ended up doing was going to court, a legal battle, and finding this 3-letter word, and that is the. The was so important. In 1884, the became the significant change to make it the Glenlivet in order for no one to have this name. Now, in what's the year? Give me 1 second. Let me look. 1921. In 1921, John's second great-nephew, a decorated war hero of World War I, Colonel Bill Smith Grant, he ended up stepping in and having to deal with not only depression, but also prohibition in the U.S. But through this colonel's perseverance and foresight and thought during these really hard times, he ended up getting his miniatures of this drum, this Glenlivet, to be sold to the Pullman Train Company, which was obviously going all across the U.S., so everybody was tasting it. Yay! In 1950, this particular Glenlivet, the Glenlivet, ended up selling about 50% of the Scottish malt whiskeys that was sold in the U.S. And in what year was it? In 2010, Alan Winchester, who had been honing his craft as a master distiller for over 40 years, became the master distiller at the Glenlivet. And in 2015, when this particular whiskey had dropped and he felt like it had captured the essence and the vision and the spirit of George Smith, it actually did and amassed the highest sales volume for any new Scotch malt whiskey that had been launched in 2015. So enough about history, because I'm done with it. Yabba, 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 dabba, do. Let's get to drinking, because that's what we're here for. Leilani and the Glenlivet. Oh, that's a pretty cap, and it says 1824, which is when it's established. They have a little arrow perforation. Oh, simplicity at its finest. I love it. I whipped that. Woodsy. I feel like I smell some of that orange, this slight peat, but freshness. It smells very fresh, like a little bit after rain, grass and rain. Some fruits. What fruits are they? I smell like it's maybe a peach? All right, peachy goodness. Let's do this. Oh, woman's pole. Oh, woman's pole. Oh, woman's pole. That hit the line. I'm so good. All right. Ooh. Let's try this. It got into the mossy bits. I don't know if I like the mossy bits like that. A little bit of smoke and tobacco, but definitely moss. Ooh, let's do this. Okay. Okay. Let me get another sip of sip, because that actually surprised me after smelling that bit of zest and orange that, is usually lingering. Slight peat, but not much. I'm tasting like the wood and bit of the orange, slight vanilla with that fruit peach forward kind of something cantaloupe thing going on in my mouth. This is surprising, y'all. I'm just saying, like, we know I haven't drank too many scotches on the show, and the ones that I have been pretty decent and good, but this one, even with that orange zest smell, that taste is just very faint. And the other flavor profiles like the wood and the fruit, that's what's coming forward and laying on my tongue with that nice warmth all over my mouth. You guys, this is so different. And I like it. I like it a lot. It is a really nice, smooth, fun, light feel of a whiskey. Not anything that I thought a scotch would be. Although I do love the peat and moss, I always have to prep myself for it, which is what I was expecting. Yet it lays really nice in this whiskey. So, let me take another sip. I'm going to take one. Oh, I'm wondering how this opens up. That just gave me a little tobacco and smoke. Just a hint. Not a lot. Not overpowering. Just towards the back end. Leilani, with Leilani drinks the brown stuff, must give the Glenlivet 4.5 kisses. Yeah, pretty solid. I want to say, wait a second, let me have another sip. All right, let me rewind that back. Because I feel like I'm in the hopes of it opening up. I'm in the hopes of it just expanding because of what it's doing all up in my mouth. But as I'm tasting it at first, there's definitely certain things that I'm like, okay. So, let's do this again. Leilani drinks the brown stuff. Must give the Glenlivet 4 kisses. 4 kisses for a scotch. And it might go up from here. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to do that follow-up Friday on this one. So, if you haven't been into scotches and malts like I have, although an occasional peaty, mossy kind of taste and smoky is so amazing with a really amazing meal, this is a nice lighter version that is a little bit more forward than I would have to say even the Glencullen was. So please go out there, get your The Glenlivet. What did I just say? I don't know. But go out there and get The Glenlivet. Alan Winchester over at The Glenlivet is doing the founders right with this Founders Reserve. Cheers.